Hi everyone, Roxanne Sasha here, also known as Resilient Mum. Welcome back to my channel. I hope that you are all well and I hope you're all ready for day 12 of our Bible study. So today we are looking at Genesis chapter 22 verses 1 to 18. And it came to pass after these things that God did tempt Abraham and said unto him, Abraham, and he said, Behold, here I am. And he said, Take now thy son, thine only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him therefore a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell thee of. And Abraham rose up early in the morning, and saddled his ass, and took 2 of his young men with him, and Isaac his son, and clave the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up, and went unto the place of which God had told him. Then on the 3rd day Abraham lifted up his eyes, and saw the place afar off. And Abraham said unto his young men, Abide ye here with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship, and come again to you. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering, and laid it upon Isaac his son. And he took the fire in his hand, and a knife, and they went both of them together. And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father, and said, My father. And he said, Here am I, my son. And he said, Behold the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering? And Abraham said, My son, God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. So they went both of them together. And they came to the place which God had told him of. And Abraham built an altar there, and laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand, and took the knife to slay his son. And the angel of the Lord called unto him out of heaven, and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here am I. And he said, Lay not thine hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him, for now I know that thou fearest God, seeing thou hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, from me. And Abraham lifted up his eyes, and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram, and offered him up for a burnt offering instead of his son. And Abraham called the name of that place Jehovah Jireh, as it is said to this day, In the mount of the Lord it shall be seen. And the angel of the Lord called unto Abraham out of heaven the 2nd time, and said, By myself have I sworn, saith the Lord, for because thou hast done this thing, and hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, that in blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply thy seed as the stars of the heaven, and as the sand which is upon the seashore, and thy seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. Verse 18 and last. And in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because thou hast obeyed my voice. We learn from this passage that God actually asked Abraham to give Isaac, his son, as a sacrifice. Sometimes God will ask you to put something down. It may hurt sometimes, it may not even make any sense, but he knows his reasons in asking you this very thing. Abraham was about to give his son Isaac as his offering. Can you imagine how difficult that was, knowing that this very son was the son that was promised to himself and his wife Sarah, and also they had to wait for so many years for Isaac, and now the Lord was asking for Isaac to be given back to him as an offering. It reminds me slightly of how the Lord sent his only son to the cross to die for our sins, except it's 2 different scenarios. Abraham must have felt so heartbroken knowing that this very son that him and his wife have nurtured, they've poured love into, they've shown appreciation to the Lord, they've thanked the Lord for this very son. He was their answered prayer, and now he was having to hand him over as a sacrifice. Even so, Abraham was obedient, and just as he was about to sacrifice his son, because the son rightly asked where was the lamb that they would be sacrificing, or what sacrifice would they be given to the Lord? Because he didn't see anything, and Abraham still said the Lord would provide, because that's what the Lord does. He does provide. That's when Abraham realized that his obedience paid off. What at that time did not make any sense to him began to make sense to him. With Abraham's obedience to the Lord promised to multiply Abraham's seed as the stars of the heaven, and as the sand which is upon the seashore. Now, can you count the stars? Can you count the grains of sand? It's impossible. God's great love, his fervent love for Abraham, was continuously displayed throughout his story in Genesis. The favor that was shown to himself and Sarah was also shown through the book of Genesis. In Genesis chapter 21, verses 1 to 7, God kept his promise to Sarah and Abraham. The purpose of the wait, the time that they had to wait, was to also test their faith, but also to prove how obedient they would be to God. Without both things, without obedience and without faith, they may never have had their son Isaac. There's beauty in waiting upon the Lord. There's beauty in being obedient to his call on your life. His blessings and his promises are sure. They're not fabricated, they're not made up, they're not fairy tales. My encouragement to you today is, as long as you are walking in alignment with God's will for your life, and as long as you're walking and living in your purpose, God will continue to surprise you. He will continue to exceed your expectations. Pray that this has been a blessing for you today, and I hope to see you tomorrow, God willing, for day 13. Bye.